China can't collect taxes from their own citizens. They lose billions from tax dodgers. So do we. So do we. It is amazing. The magnifying glass you'll put on China. Everything you hate about China, we do. And everything you claim to hate about China is usually better than what we have. We do that too. And guess what we did to fix that? We cut the IRS. We cut funding for the IRS. And we stopped prosecuting corporations who are dodging taxes. So the thing that you're complaining about China that we have too, our response to that is, yeah, it, let them do it. We are being robbed absolutely fucking blind. It is so fucking crazy to me to see Americans today celebrating this bill when America, by every measure, is getting passed by virtually every one of our competitors. There's a clip. I'll show you this. I think this is a good example here. China is technologically miles past us. And the reason that China is doing so much better is because China does that evil thing, that evil socialism thing. China uses taxpayer money to invest in industry. And then that taxpayer money creates a return because they don't invest in it and saying like, we're going to spend, here's a good example, like the Chips and Science Act. We spent a lot of money and gave a lot of subsidies for the Chips and Science Act. And what that allows businesses to do is come in with a government subsidy and create a business and they can offset a bunch of their costs because of government subsidies. And then they get to make all the profits. And our country says, well, the great news is we'll be able to collect taxes on those businesses. It'll create jobs. Those people will also pay taxes and we're good. Except for we're cutting the taxes of the richest people. China does it differently. China says we're going to take that taxpayer money and we're going to, and one of the places that they really focused on was electric vehicles. And so they took taxpayer money and they invested it into electric vehicle manufacturing and renewable energy. And what happens when BYD, a Chinese auto manufacturer, does well? It increases not only tax revenue for what people are taxed, but it increases revenue for the government, which they can then go use and they can pay for healthcare. They can pay for education. Now, if you think that sounds crazy, I want you to remember that we do that here in the United States too, but we do it in the dumbest fucking possible ways. If you want, the only places where we allow things where you can invest in that go right back in the private sector, that go back into the taxpayers' pockets are things like the lottery and medical marijuana. And what happens is states, in order to get those things passed, in order to have a lottery, in order to have medical marijuana, they say we're going to add a tax onto this, and that money is going to go to pay for schools or roads, depending on what state you're in, usually schools. And that's how some of these places like Arizona have made up budget deficits through marijuana revenue. Utah did it. I think Florida does that. California did that. We do it too, but we just do it with like shit that people like want to use, like marijuana. We don't do it in a sensible way. This is the CEO of Ford. And I want you to hear the CEO of Ford talking about the difference between cars manufactured here in America and cars manufactured in China. And there is really only one difference. We're all going after the same market. We're all going after people who want cars. And China is investing. South Korea does this too. They invest in the companies and they share in the profits. And listen to Ford with all this money, all this private investment money, this VC money that's available, all this investment that's about to be freed up by the big beautiful bill. Look what Ford says about how badly they're getting dusted by China.
It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen. 70% of all EVs in the world are made in China. They have far superior in-vehicle technology. Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car. They have facial recognition.
Cell phone technology.
Yes.
Connected to their cell phones.
Yes. You get in, you don't have to pair your phone. Automatically, your whole digital life is mirrored in the car. You have an AI companion that you can talk to ChatGPT equivalent in China. All the automatic payment is already there. You can buy movie tickets. It has facial recognition, so it knows who's in which seat and which media you like.
Why don't Ford cars have that? Would you need to deal with Apple or?
Yeah, because Google and Apple decided not to go in the car business. And even beyond that, their cost, their quality of their vehicles is far superior.
Now, here's the difference. When he says like, say Huawei, I think is how you say that. Here's the difference is that all of those technology companies in China, they have government subsidies. And those government subsidies require them also to work with other Chinese companies and integrate their technology. In America, because we have that separation, we still give Apple, we still give Google all of these tax subsidies, all these tax breaks that they give in China, but then we're not attached to it. And so they don't integrate their systems like China does. If you see these BYD cars, they are light years ahead of where we are. They are light years ahead of Tesla, who makes our best electric vehicles. In places like in Mexico, where BYD is available, nobody buys Tesla. Everybody buys BYD. It's a better product. Oh, and by the way, if you live in China, your electric costs are less because of renewable energy, and you're not paying for gas. Imagine that. If you live in a warm state, because I don't know what your guys' bills are like in other states, but for example, in Arizona, if I was able to I generate enough solar power to power my house, but I have to be attached to the grid, and I can't use solar power. So in Arizona, from I want to say it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., I can use solar. The hottest time of the day, I can use solar, but I can't disconnect from the grid and put in a battery and store that power and power my house for 24 hours. The times when the sun isn't up, I have to pay SRP for power. Why? Because our government's like, oh, well, we can't leave SRP hanging. That's what crony capitalism is. Crony capitalism is keeping established businesses, established sources of revenue afloat by forcing customers to stay on. You don't get a choice in Arizona. I have no choice. I have to pay SRP. There's other places, there's APS. There's two different power companies here. And now, on top of that, in the big beautiful bill, we're cutting the subsidies for you to be able to get solar on your house. So for a lot of people, they didn't have $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 where they could go and they could buy solar for their house. So the government subsidized these companies and gave them a tax credit, and then you could get financing for solar, and then you got a tax break. I don't remember what it was, but I got some sort of rebate. I think it was $7,500 or something like that. A check. I actually got a check to offset that. So it incentivized me to put solar on my house. It took away the stress on the grid, and there was just this little tie-in there, don't worry, we're going to reduce the stress on your grid, and we're going to force them to pay for power. This idea that free market capitalism in America and the way that we do things gives people more freedom is absolutely fucking bullshit. Yeah, sure, sometimes you might have more choices, but it's leading to less choices. I don't have the option of having a renewable energy home. I don't have the option of having having no bill for gas. Most of us don't. And now they're going to set it back even further. They're going to take these auto manufacturers and they're going to be like, we're not going to give you any money to invest in renewable energy or electric vehicles. You're going to have to find that money on your own. But we will subsidize you if you're doing SUVs, which is exactly what we did, so that we can ship those over. It's silly. But China's beating our ass for one reason and one reason only. They work as a collective. They take the revenue from taxes and they share that with everybody, and everybody benefits. And in America, we now know who benefits. It's the rich.
To what I see in the West, we are in a global competition with China.
China can't collect taxes from their own citizens. They lose billions from tax dodgers. So do we. So do we. It is amazing. The magnifying glass you'll put on China. Everything you guys say, everything you hate about China, we do. And everything you claim to hate about China is usually better than what we have. We do that too. And guess what we did to fix that? We cut the IRS. We cut funding for the IRS. Did you know that? And we stopped prosecuting people. We stopped prosecuting corporations who were dodging taxes. So the thing that you're complaining about China that we have too, our response to that is, fuck it, let them do it. And China's trying. They're trying to collect some of that money. But everybody has that problem. Every country on earth has a problem with tax dodgers. It is remarkable the amount of mediocrity you guys are willing to live in just so that you don't have to admit that some things need to change. And that's the real poison pill of conservatism, is convincing a bunch of dipshits that the way things are the best and there's no way that it could be any better. So we should not improve on it at all. We should just keep doing the same fucking shit that got us here. And that's what the big beautiful bill is. Let me just show you the debt by year. Shown you guys this before, but if you look at 2017, this is we were 20 trillion in debt. Or no, excuse me. This is the deficit. We had a $20 billion deficit in 2017 when we raised when we put in the TCJA. And then every year after that, it massively explodes. For sure, we have a bigger increase here for COVID and a bigger increase here for COVID. But every year, our debt is increasing. Every single year, our debt is increasing. And before 1982, here's 82, it wasn't increasing at the same rate. $300 billion. Immediately, 1982. We just see a massive increase, and then wealth inequality skyrockets. And we've done nothing to address this. Right here in 1982, when we had the Reagan tax cut, and that's when it went into effect as 82 while we increased spending. Right here, we were in a manageable situation, and Republicans sounded then the same way that they sound now. Is they're like, look, we've got runaway spending. Look at it. It's going up every year. We have to do something about this. And they did nothing about it, but they did cut taxes for rich people. That's it. Every fucking time. Every fucking time we try and address spending, Republicans rant and rave. For 4 years, we had to hear about it with Joe Biden. For 4 years. And I agreed with you guys. I agreed that Joe Biden needed to do something about spending. And then your dude gets in here and he just cuts revenues and increases spending. For the life of me, can't understand it.